Hello, and welcome to a survey of art history, part 2. I'm recording this short video today to cover some basic information that will help you get started with this course. So your first step is going to be watch this video and then navigate to the modules section in Blackboard, and in it you'll see a tab that says very important information, start here first, something like that. Under that tab, you will find 2 documents, and I highly recommend that if at all possible, you print them out. They are your course syllabus, this one here, and your study guide. I'll talk about the study guide in a second, but I'm going to begin with the course syllabus. This document has information about the course. It has all of the due dates of assignments, and at the very end of it are descriptions of your 2 written assignments. I'm not going to read it word for word because that would be really boring. I'm going to go through and cover highlights and things that it's very important for you to know, but I would like, when you print this out or when you review it in closer detail, for you to go ahead and read through everything just to be sure that it all makes sense and that you don't have any questions about any of the information in here. So to begin, I want to introduce myself. My name is Anna Wagner, and I have the pleasure of working with you this semester. A little less than a semester, right? This is a quick course. Some of you may have met me before. I used to teach down in San Luis, art and art history, but right now I'm actually on the East Coast. So the majority of you will maybe never meet me person to person, but I am available through email, and also here's my phone number. You can call me or text me. There's a 3-hour time difference, so you might find that if you try calling in the evening, I might not pick up because chances are I may be asleep since it's later here. But I will get back to you as soon as possible, and I happen to always walk around with my phone everywhere, so I will, in general, get back to you within a matter of hours, if not minutes. This is an entirely web-based course, so we don't have to meet anywhere on campus. However, there are 2 tests for this class, a midterm and a final. You have to take these tests at a testing center. I send the test to all AWC centers. That includes all satellite campuses. If you are not near an AWC testing center, let's say you're in a different state, you're not in Arizona at all, or you're in a completely different part of Arizona, contact me as soon as possible so that I can send the test to a testing center near you. Most public libraries or community colleges will proctor a test. If you're on a military base, there's often a test proctoring center on the base. And often, if it's a military base, you don't have to pay to take the test. However, if you need to take the test at a public library or a community college that's not Arizona Western College, there is often a fee involved, which can be anything from $20 per test to sometimes $80 per test. I just want you to know that right off the bat, because that can be a problem. And I'm sorry about that if you aren't anywhere near an AWC center, but it is a requirement. You can't take the tests anywhere except a testing center. And if that's going to be a big problem, you might consider withdrawing. What is required for this class? Clearly, access to a computer with internet access is required, but also you need the textbook. So the textbook for this course is this one here. Let me grab it. It's called Gardner's Art Through the Ages, and this is a Survey 2 course, so you need the Survey 2 book, which looks like this. This is the 15th, no, I'll hold it back a little. This is the 15th edition. The 15th edition is the most recent edition. The 14th edition of the book, if you have that, will also work. The 14th edition looks like this. The page numbers and the figure numbers, which are the image identifying numbers, will be slightly different, but it's the same information. If you have a fully online copy of that book, or like a PDF of the book, that'll also work just fine. This course begins at the Renaissance and goes through to contemporary art, although our focus is going to be less on contemporary art and more on all the movements that lead up to it. Now, because this course is condensed, you can expect at least, students say, 10 to 15 hours of work every week, because remember, we're shrinking down a semester's worth of class into 8 weeks. So this is going to be kind of demanding. Additionally, so besides just your weekly assignments or bi-weekly assignments, you're going to have a final paper due that's at least 1,000 words long, and you will be taking 2 tests. In the event that you decide you need to withdraw from class, that's something that you have to do. I will not withdraw you. Let's talk a little bit about grading. Down here it says grading. Then if you flip, you'll see this section here, which describes how your final grade is broken down by criteria. What this means is that there are different sections of your final grade. So for example, your blog entries, which are your homework assignments, written homework assignments, are worth 30% of your final grade. Now let's just imagine, I know this won't happen, but let's just imagine that you never turned in one of those whatsoever, so you got a 0% for that part of your grade. Even if you had 100% in everything else, the highest final grade you would earn for the course would be a 70%, because your written homework assignments are worth 30% of your final grade. You will have 2 writing assignments that are due towards the end of the semester. I highly suggest that for those, you please turn them in, if at all possible, in .doc format, which is the Microsoft Word text editing format, because I will go in and insert track changes, which is a tool that allows me to write in red directly over your writing so that you can see my suggested changes. If you upload your work as a PDF or in a different format, I probably won't be able to do that, so I'll have to write notes to the side of your paper, which isn't as effective. Now for your weekly homework writing assignments, your blogs, I suggest, although it is possible for you to type those directly into Blackboard, I don't suggest you do that. Blackboard, it can be glitchy, or sometimes you might lose internet connection, and you run the risk of losing your written work. So instead what I suggest you do is type out your blog assignments in Word if you have Microsoft Word, or if you don't, perhaps you could type them in as an email, since emails, especially if you're writing through Gmail, tend to automatically save every minute or 2. That way you won't lose your work. Now let's just imagine that Blackboard is being glitchy, or you're just not able to upload your assignment for some reason. Email me your work instead. As long as I receive your work with a timestamp, so you know how emails have timestamps, before the due date, you're not going to lose points for late work. Again, I'm not going to read every word of this, but I do want to talk to you about the late work policy. This here describes it in writing. I'm going to say it now. My late work policy is that for each day an assignment is due, it drops 1 full letter grade. That means if you turn in something that would have been 100% on the first day, it will be, if it, let's say it's 1 day late, then the highest grade it can earn is 90%. However, I cap deductions, so I stop taking off full letter points after the 4th day of an assignment being late, which is to say, if an assignment you turned in would have been 100%, but it's 4 days late, the highest grade it can earn is 60%, and this goes for all assignments. But if your assignment is 5 days late or 5 weeks late, I won't take off more than 40% of the grade. Again, if that doesn't make sense, or if you have questions about anything, please contact me. Now, regarding contacting me, you have the option of email or call or text. Sometimes questions might be best answered over video chat. That option is available to you as well, but please try and schedule your appointment at least 48 hours in advance with me, just so I'm sure I have a quiet environment and reliable Wi-Fi for a video chat. Okay, so moving on. We're now in the due dates section part of the class syllabus. You'll see that the date that the assignments are due are always highlighted here. And in general, you have an assignment due every Monday and Friday of the week. Monday and Friday before midnight. Now this first week is an exception because we start on Tuesday. So your very first assignment is due on Wednesday the 18th. And then following that, you have an assignment due on Friday the 20th. What you have for these bi-weekly assignments is a quiz, which is a multiple choice 10-question quiz, and a blog. And a blog is a written homework assignment. You'll find descriptions of these things under the modules section in Blackboard. Your first one is going to be an introduction, so you're introducing yourself to your course members, and the first quiz is a quiz on the format of this class, just so that I'm sure you understand where everything is. Following that, each of these modules is broken down so that a section of art history, which corresponds to a chapter in your textbook, is covered. You'll notice that I'm using the term module for each of these sections. Module is just another word for section or chapter, but I didn't want to use the word section or chapter because those words are used by your textbook, so that can get confusing. So each one of these modules is just a section of work that you have to complete in the course. You can do all of these as quickly as you want, but you do have to move through them sequentially. So if you choose to do all the work in 1 week, that's fine, but you just have to do it in order. Now you'll see that for these first weeks, so week 1, week 2, week 3, week 3, and then are all pretty much the same, but then with week 4, you'll notice that you have your final paper, topic, and bibliography due on February 10th. Now, that is a writing assignment. And you have 2 writing assignments for this course. You have the paper, topic, and bibliography, and then you also have your final paper. Your final paper is due March 9th before midnight. At the end of this document is a description of both of those writing assignments. The first writing assignment is a kind of a mini writing assignment, you can think of it as, and it will be a summary of whatever you will write your final paper about, and a very short summary at that. And then also a bibliography of the sources you will use to research the topic of your final paper. I have set it up so that your final paper is a comparison and contrast of 2 art objects or examples of architecture that are covered by the time period covered by this course. So keep in mind that this course begins at the Renaissance So in other words, if you're choosing anything before the Renaissance, that would not be an appropriate topic. However, you can choose any artwork. It doesn't necessarily have to be artwork covered by this course, just so long as it falls into the right time period. You need to choose two, compare and contrast them. For your topic summary, which is due in February, it will just be a document that looks like this, and I have an example of the format, which is right here. Short summary, these here are your sources in MLA format. Okay, so you're writing that just so that I can look through it, be like, your sources look good, your topic makes sense, you're on the right track, go ahead. So you can start writing your final paper. And this is the last page of your class syllabus. This is a description of what you need to do for your final paper. Let's go back to those due dates. After you turn in your final paper topic and bibliography, you'll see that week 5 here, your 8th module, is your midterm. And remember, there are 2 tests. There's the midterm and the final. So you must take your midterm at a testing center, and it will be available from February 13th to February 16th. Now, the testing centers are open during business hours, and they're not open on Fridays. So again, be sure to take your test during that time frame. And also, remember, if you're not close to an AWC testing center, please let me know as soon as possible so I can send the test somewhere that's going to work for you. So after you take the midterm, you'll see that the course resumes to the similar format with a blog and quiz due every Monday and Friday. And then your final test must be taken between March 6th and March 9th. And then your final paper is due on March 9th. Any work that you turn in to me after March 9th, I will not be able to grade. So you have to get all of your work into me before then. Also, before March 9th, you need to turn into me any doctor's notes or notes from a coach, any kind of notes that will excuse any late work, so you can be sure to earn back any points that you've missed because an assignment was late. Now, the last thing that I want to cover, well, I think that's it, actually. I don't want to keep throwing information at you because I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Is that true, though? No. I'm going to overwhelm you a little bit. I need to cover just some information about the study guide. So the study guide is this document here, which I also suggest that you print out. And you'll see the second page of the study guide is a description of exactly what you can expect to find on both the midterm and the final tests. The final test is not cumulative, so the information from the midterm will not be covered on the final. Each of the modules has its own page in this study guide. And what I suggest you do is, as you are completing the module, so for example, this one here is Medieval and Early Renaissance, so it's the very first one. As you're doing your homework for that, keep your study guide handy and write in answers to these things. So you have, for each module, potential short essay questions. You'll need to answer each of these questions with 4 full sentences on the test. I'll pick 2 of these at random, but they will be these exact same questions. So if you prepare and memorize answers for these, you'll be totally ready for the test. I have a list here of images for each module, and these images, you'll notice, have numbers. These numbers correspond to numbers in the book. So you'll be able to find them according to these numbers. When I show these images on the test, they're going to be just the images. It's going to be your job to list the name of the artist, the title of the artwork, when it was made, and why it's important. So you need to write in here why it's important. That's the only information that's missing. You don't need to know how big it is or where it is. And then finally, there are vocabulary and terms for each of these modules. When you're writing in definitions, be sure you're writing in the art historical definition. So, for example, one of the vocab words might be perspective. The perspective can be the way that you see something, but perspective in art history is a way of depicting things on a picture plane so that they look like they're real. So be sure you're thinking about everything in terms of art history. Okay, I really will cut myself off here because I don't want to just keep giving you information. But please, at any point, if you have any question, contact me. I'm here to help you, and I look forward to working with you.